for the people in here that don't know who you are, don't know where you're from, so just give us a real quick bio.
Well, man, that's kind of difficult. I'm a big personality. It's hard to wrap up into one sentence, but my name's Andrew. I'm 19. Been going here for about a year exactly, pretty close. But um, yeah, I do nothing but just work all the time, hang out with my girlfriend, and come to church. I serve on the worship team. Been playing drums for a few years. Been serving the Lord for a long time, but faithfully about a year. So pretty happy to be here.
Now, do you have your driver's license with you?
Yes.
Because I heard someone, you said 19, they said 19.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
I
can,
had to carry
hey,
that.
after service, if you want to ask him some questions, he's got his ID with him. Um,
I got my passport, my birth certificate, my driver's license. I've had to prove my age for most of
yeah.
my life.
When we went to camp 2 years ago, the leaders there were like, "This is an adult leader." I'm like, "Bro, he's in 11th grade. What are you talking about?" So, well, good deal, man. Well, I'll tell you this to start off, Andrew. Man, I'm so thankful that you call Echo Youth home. I'm so thankful that you came here, and it was a God thing, really. You decided Jeremiah was talking to you about Ecuador, and you decided to go. We had a week left.
Yeah.
He calls me. He says, "Hey, can I go to Ecuador? I'll have the money to you in 2 days." I'm like, "Yeah, if you can have the money to me by next Monday, you can go." And he did. So it was a great trip, and we'll probably talk about that a little later. But man, you've just there's when you get into ministry, when you get into the workforce, you'll always have these people you work with, you go to school with, on your teams, in your ministry that are kingpins. And Andrew's one of those people. He makes a difference everywhere he goes. And I didn't tell him I was going to share this, but Andrew, that's what I believe, man. You came in here swinging. You were ready to get in here to serve. I mean, he was so anxious. He was like, "Man, I want to start on the worship team, but I've only been here 2 months."
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't even care. Like, you came from a church, you were playing drums and at the church you were at, so just come on in, man. So thank you for all you do, man, and it's an honor to serve with you. So, man, I want to hear your story. I know everybody in here is eager to hear what the Lord has brought you through. So, uh, man, I know you're going to have to compact it, but man, tell us your story.
Well, so not like a lot of stories you've probably heard. A lot of rough home lives growing up, like a lot of trauma, stuff like that. I honestly could not be more proud of where I come from. My parents, my family, I have like I can't brag on them enough. I'd probably be up here for next 3 hours just bragging about my family alone. I have the absolute best family and upbringing possible. I grew up further north out or South Alabama actually. Um, Nobody ever knows where it's called. It's Woodstock, Alabama, but nobody knows that, so I just say Birmingham. Yeah, Jeremiah's representing. But so grew up in church my whole life. My parents were children's pastors for I think like 2 years from when I was like between 3 and 5, I think, something like that. And honestly, just kind of grew up going through the motions. And one thing I was homeschooled. So, like every other homeschooler, my life was church. That was all my friends, all my social interaction was just church. And so my whole life I've been in a church building. And
That's what you
so,
did for fun, right? It's
yeah,
like, what are we doing today, Mom?
yeah,
We're going to church. Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, you
literally.
go to the kitchen to find the free snacks.
Yep. I met Jeremiah when I was 6 years old. His family moved to my church. And so,
Yeah, we actually have a picture, right? I'm kidding. Oh, wait, I wouldn't do y'all
oh,
dirty like that.
I don't think Jeremiah would like that very much. Phew. But yeah, so met him when I was like 6 years old. So we grew up in the same church. His parents started being our children's pastors. You did not hear that voice crack. Um, but yeah,
Man, I
so
thought he was about to start crying already. I was like, man, I can't do this. Like, we ain't gonna make it, Andrew.
we'll make it there, hopefully. But yeah, so spent most of my upbringing in the church. Made it to 12 years old. Yeah, about 12. And I don't know what year that was, like 2018, something like that. Or no, I was 10 whenever we first. Me and my family took a mission trip when our church went to Romania. And I knew a decent amount about Romania. One thing probably none of you know, my aunt is actually from Romania, full blooded. She came over here Ooh, long, long, long time ago.
So explain to everybody like where is Romania?
So Romania is a Eastern European country. It's right between Moldova, Ukraine, man, Germany, Austria. It's like right in the middle of all of them. So it's a post-communistic country. It's a Romanian Orthodox. So about as screwed up as you can possibly get for the church. You pay your way in.
Wow.
So we took a mission trip over there, and we were there for 3 weeks. We were visiting my family; they're missionaries over there. Man, my voice is shaky. Good grief! But took a mission trip over there. So we spent 3 weeks just visiting family and doing missions, and so we came back home, and my parents about a month later come up to me and my sister. They're like, "So, what do y'all think about moving to Romania?" I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" We had moved from a little tiny trailer into this nice house and big neighborhood. Like we were starting to become like that nuclear family of just everybody. Like dad goes to work, my mom stays home. We do homeschooling. Like everything was perfect with my family. And then all of a sudden, my parents are like, "Yeah, all those friends, all the church, everything like that. You have to pack it up." And then we were like, okay, fun. So, uh, me too, Anthony. At about 11 years old, my family sold everything that we owned and moved overseas. So, we served as missionaries from 2017 to 2019. So, that was a definitely a big part of my faith and a perspective change for sure. Being that young and um, Romania is a third world country, so
Yeah.
if you don't know what that means they're very underdeveloped in technology and economy, and so where you see like modern cars driving around here, there's nothing over there past the 90s. Where you see like us have tractors, they have horses. So like it's like going 200 years in the past.
Mhm.
It's houses are built out of mortar and straw. Our house, to put it in perspective, the house we lived in Romania was older than America. It's really funny when you think about it like that. Our house is over 200 years old.
That's pretty incredible though.
Yeah. So that was definitely a significant thing on my life of going over there and doing kids ministry is what we did. We went in through speaking English and stuff like that, but it definitely changes your perspective a lot being that young and I see a kid sleeping in a piece of wood that's like big enough for half of his body. And he's happy that we're there. He's like, "Oh my gosh, the Americans are here. They're going to save us." And I was like, "Bro, we're the same age. What am I supposed to do?" But I definitely appreciate that a lot now. I would say at first it was hard to get over that because giving your life up for ministry is not an easy pill to swallow whatsoever. And I was a kid and I was like, why do I have to give up my childhood for other kids' childhoods to become better? Like, that does not seem fair. I'm 11, this kid's like 12, and I have to serve him? What? And so it definitely gave a lot of good perspective on ministry at a young age because it it's hard to look those kids in the eyes and think that you could possibly be any better in any way
Mm.
because those kids are so hungry for the Lord. And we have places like this to come and worship and gather together, and these kids are alone. And so, from a very young age, I was on like exposed to ministry and what that looks like. And it gave me a very good perspective on it. But it also was difficult to fight that human nature being selfish
Yeah.
of this is my life for ministry. Like there's nothing in return other than the reward of feeling like a good person. You go over there, you help some kids, you're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I got this. Like I'm a good person." But
So I'm sure there's plenty of people here tonight that maybe you've moved cities, you moved to a different school. And when I was in sixth grade, we moved from Pinson to Susanmore. Like that's a big change. And so what was it like not just to change a county or a city? Like you're not going an hour down the road to a different neighborhood. You're going to the other side of the world. Now, they could speak your language, right?
Uh, not really, no.
Okay,
It
so
was yeah, it's Romanian, so not a very common language whatsoever.
Okay, so you go over there, and not only you know no one, you
Yeah.
can't even
No, I can't
communicate with
even
them.
speak to anybody.
You have to be like Zechariah. You just have to start making signs.
Yeah.
So for that aspect, I know like the ministry part, being able to help people, that's always the positive.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone walks into ministry of any sorts and walks away thinking, dang it, I had to help people. It's always, yeah, I got to help people. We gave them water. We were able to pray with them and love on them. But the reality of it was you were alone.
Yeah.
So, how did you get through that season of your life?
It taught me that you can always fall back on the Lord, but you need community.
Yeah.
I realized that pushing myself away from the people over there because I was like, these aren't my people. This isn't my church. Like, I don't know these people. Like, God sent me over here and made me abandon everybody. Hey, and now I'm alone. Like, and it taught me that you have to have a church around you. And trying to do it on your own is that's that's the hardest lift you'll ever do. Is like you are not going to pick up something that's 500 pounds by yourself
Yeah.
unless you're like, I don't know, Jonah over here. I know that boy stays in the gym.
Yeah.
But it really taught me to rely on a church home and trusting God that He will provide. You're not going to stay in that hole.
Yeah. So now you said you were there for about 2 years.
Yeah.
So what made you guys move back to America?
So we moved back to America because we came up with this plan for a ministry to get buses and start a mobile church and travel because we stayed in it's called Klopotiva, Romania. It's in Transylvania. Yes, like the movie, the vampires, all that stuff. But little tiny village called Klopotiva in Transylvania, Romania, and we only went to this one village called Bolano, and it was just this little tiny village and up in the side of the Carpathian Mountains. I know all of this is completely gibberish, but we only made it to one village. And this was like 50 kids that have no parents, no home, anything. And there's no orphanage. Um, one of the biggest is there being no economy in Romania, the absolute biggest export is actually humans. So a lot of orphanages are actually less as safe than just living out on the street. So there's just kids everywhere because everybody leaves to go find work everywhere else. And so we were like, we got to build this ministry. We got to get it bigger. And we came back to America in the very beginning of 2020. And I think most of you probably know how that story went. We got back over here, all of a sudden, boom, whole country's locked down. There's no leaving, getting in. America finally opened up about a year later. Romania was still shut down. Um, and then I have an older sister. She's almost 2 years older, and she was like in the process of graduating high school. So we just kind of got stuck over here with life. Didn't want to try and move back to another country. She's graduating. She gets done, then I'm graduating right after. So it was just hit after hit after hit, and that definitely took an impact of feeling like we had a arm keeping us from the mission that we were called on. But I don't believe that's necessarily my testimony for that.
So leaving, there was a transition,
Yeah.
and then so you have your mindset that, hey, this is home now.
Yeah.
But then you come back and you can't go back. So it's like now you have to readjust back to the American way of living after living in a country that lived in mud huts.
Yeah.
So I know during this is when we met you. We met you in 2021.
Yeah.
Okay, what everybody call you back then? Was it cowboy? Yeah, is
Oh
that right?
yeah, I got called cowboy or the country kin
Yeah,
because apparently I looked like the country version of a Ken doll.
country Ken.
Yeah,
There we
no,
go.
I'm not a fan of that one.
So we're gonna have 3 shirts available for Echo Youth next week. We'll have country Ken. Um, so, but you get involved in a youth group, you start going to camp, and I know that things are just different for you.
Yeah.
So, um, now this is where life started to get maybe a little confusing. Maybe start some struggles coming on. So, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so about I think it was like 2022 or no, it would have been 2023. I was just going about life, really, kind of just floating around, going to church. I was playing in another worship ministry, just kind of going about the mundane high school life. So playing sports, and about that time, I did the same exact thing most high schoolers do because your frontal lobe hasn't developed. I got a girlfriend, and let me tell you, being like 16 years old and getting a girlfriend in the middle of high school, don't do it. Like, please don't. You may think you're in love. I'm not going to tell you that you're not, but just think about it, pray about it, because I got into a relationship, and I spent 2 years continuously drifting from God. Every day I made decision after decision after decision that just pushed me further back from God. I I I'm not going to disown any credit of that, but uh, also, if you're going to date somebody, don't date anybody more than 2 years older. You can trust me, girls mature much faster. I was an idiot. I was still a little kid inside, but yeah. So I spent 2 years in a very, very, very bad relationship, just pushing further and further and further back from God. I stopped talking to all my friends. I lost every relationship I've built. I like Jeremiah back here has been my best friend for way too long, actually. I need a new one. It's been like 13 years or something like that. But I didn't talk to this joker for 2 years. And so I just cut myself off from everything. So I kind of hit this point of I was pushing back further from God, making all these wrong decisions, and I hit rock bottom. I hit this point where I felt like I was at no return. I was locked into this relationship. I felt like, oh, I'm too far in. I've been and like just hooked in. I have no way out. No conversation ever helped. No communication. No like, and I didn't talk to anybody. Nobody knew that I was at this place. Like nobody. And so I fell down just this rabbit hole. I was just had graduated high school by like about the end of that 2 years. And so I was just working full time, just going about my daily life. And I was like, where am I? Like, I got nowhere. Like, this is not my plan. I wanted to be like further along than this. I wanted to be serving God, doing something like that. And here I am in this relationship, repeating mistake after mistake. I was going to church because I enjoyed playing music. That was it. That I like in my heart, I love music, love playing, and that was it. That was all that kept me actually going. And my parents' faith, honestly, just wanting to stay in church for them. But
So, would you say that you kind of felt that you got into this relationship and, you made one mistake, and after you made a few more, you started to feel like, well, there's no turning back.
yep,
And when it doesn't have to be a relationship, it can be any mistake that you make. I believe the enemy comes in and it's like putting, 270 pounds on your shoulders and says, hey, you've messed up.
yeah,
You can't turn back from this. And then what it does, it sends us into isolation. If there's anywhere the enemy wants us to be, is by ourselves, not talking to anybody. I think the greatest lie the enemy tells people is that you can't talk to your pastor.
yeah,
You can't talk to your mom and dad. I promise you, as a dad of 3 kids, when when my kids come to me and they say, I messed up, like I just want to cry with them.
yeah,
I'm like, hey, I've been there. And if I'm telling you, parents are not out. Well, most parents are not out to get you. They want to help you. They want to love you. They want to be there for you. And if you maybe you don't have parents like that, then I promise you, there's some spiritual mentors in your life that do want to help you, that do want to pray with you. But I think what the enemy convinces us that whatever that sin is, like man, Pastor Nick's just not going to believe that you did that.
yeah,
I promise you, it's it's not
yeah,
that bad.
yeah, absolutely. And I felt like I was in a sinking ship with a bucket, and it was the Titanic. Like I felt like I was going down faster than I could paddle my way out. And there are lifeboats on that sinking ship, but and that was talking to my parents, talking to my pastor, like like talking to my friends. I can't brag enough about my friends. Half of you guys in here are like the closest people in my life, the most strongest spiritual warriors I've ever met. Like this generation is strong, man. Like
Cool.
spiritually, whew, man, I want to be like all my friends, honestly, because you guys encourage my faith more than anything. But
Cool.
I was on that sinking ship, and do you know how many people I talked to? Absolutely zero. Like I had a lifeboat and I didn't use it because of shame. I just kept hiding it and hiding it and hiding it. And I was like, I've cut off all my friends. They hate me. Like nobody's gonna want to talk to me. I'm gonna come crawling back and be like, "Well, it didn't work out." They're gonna be like, "Yeah, and you abandoned us." Like, but yeah, it definitely was a spiral. And I let myself just start to believe this lie that there was no point of return, that there wasn't any out for it. And I hit this point of just utter darkness of I had no church home. I went to a church that didn't mean anything. I went and hung out with this girl that was just pushing me down further and further and further. That didn't mean anything. I was hopeless. I was like, there's no coming back from this. And I didn't talk to anybody. And so that pushed me into a very, very, very isolated place of pretty severe depression. Um, to this day, I haven't talked a ton about it. I share this when it's important, when I feel like it's impactful, but started having panic attacks pretty regularly. I was working full time at this point, working on cars, and I'm just like trying to guide someone in and just feel my heart start racing and sweating and crying. And I was just like, golly, I don't know what is happening to me, but I'm losing it. There's like no hope. I have nobody to turn to because I'd cut everybody out all because I believed this lie that there was nobody around me. I was believed that I had cut everybody out. I believed that there was nobody to turn to. I hadn't like I hardly talked to my parents. I lived with them, but I was like
Yeah.
so obsessed with my own thing that I didn't turn to anybody. And so started having pretty bad panic attacks and honestly it was just like, okay, it's hopeless. I've nobody and nothing. And I'm still in this relationship. I'm not even strong enough to get out of that. What makes me think I'm strong enough to beat all this sin? And it drove me to absolute rock bottom. And around that same time, I had also found out that the church home I grew up in was extremely corrupt the whole time I was there. I had no idea. I it's funny to say like secondhand church hurt, but I saw everybody I grew up with just start or like leaving the church. I saw everybody start going into perversion, and I learned that the people I trusted the most were completely perverted. And so that was just like the final straw for me. And I was just like, okay, so now there's not even a church I can go to because the pastor was a snake. The my other pastors didn't even follow God. Like, what am I supposed to do? I have no friends, no church now. Like, I have nothing other than working this dead end job. And I would say that's I'd say that's probably the lowest I've ever been in my life. And I had a perfect home. I had everything.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have looked at me, you would have been like, heck yeah, Andrew's the only person in his friend group with a parents that aren't divorced. Andrew's the only person in the friend group that has a church that he's been going to, that serves on a worship team. Like, guys, I got this together. I got a full-time job. I'm out of high school, got a girlfriend, job, like got a church, parents, everything. And I felt like I had nothing.
Man, that's so true. And whether you are a new believer in here tonight or you've been following Jesus for 11 years, 5 years, whatever, um, you need to understand that following Jesus doesn't mean the storms are going to stop, that troubles are not going to come. Um, Lauren and I are walking through the season right now. With our son, we just found out a week and a half ago that he has level 3 autism. So, man, it's been a rough week. I've had a lot of thoughts, a lot of questions, and I'm like, I've had a lot of why me, why us, and then what I keep being reaffirmed is that God never said He was going to take us out of the bad situations, but He would be there with us. And even though that you in this time you felt far from God, he wasn't far from you. So now the church hurt part is also you have to understand that you're a leader now. Myself or Andrew could fail you guys tomorrow. So don't put all your trust and hope in a leader. Put it in Jesus. Because there's going to come a day I'm going to say something, I'm going to do something that you don't like, that you don't agree with. And if we put all of our trust in people, now understand if you ever had a leader in your life and they've like committed a moral sin or they've done something that you said your pastor was a snake, that's hard to recover from. It's hard to join another church and trust another pastor. But when Jesus is at the throne of your life, then you understand. And when you're guided by him, he will guide you to a church and to the right pastor to sit under. And if there's any corruption there, if you are connected with him, you'll know. So um now when you talk about depression, man, it's such a touchy subject. I was talking to Lauren this morning, or it might have been last night, that 60% of Gen Z say they have a mental disorder or some kind of disability like autism, ADHD, ODD. And as I've grown older, um, I feel like I hear it more often now than I ever have. Like I feel like every time I meet a parent, they're like, "Well, my son's got ADHD." I'm like, "Really?" Because he don't seem like he does. Like, or my daughter's got this, and not that I'm saying that parents are putting labels, but I feel like we hear it more often. And um, but when you go through this type of season, you're going through depression. A lot of times, depression can look like joy from the outside. Oh, Andrew's serving on the worship team. Man, he's leading people. Man, this dude's on fire for God. But on the inside, and here's how you know, because I walked through this season just 3 years ago. Here's how you know is when you get people off of the stage and you sit with them, and it's kind of like they've lost that glow in their eye. It's like, hey man, are you good? And you just stare at the floor. It's like, no man, I'm not. I'm really not good. And I believe you had friends like Jeremiah in your life that would be honest with you, that knew you enough to say, Andrew, you're not okay. So, so coming out of that, so you're in this depression, this dark season. So now the Lord pulled you out of that. So when did that start? How did that begin?
Yeah, so um, like most things, kind of felt like it got better before it got worse. I I gave it some time and I thought, you know what? I'm just tired. I feel completely exhausted. I don't feel like I have anything other than my parents and I don't want to be a burden. So I was just like, you know what? I'll give it 2 weeks. I've grown up in church my whole life. I've always heard, or just turn to God, like trust in God. God will take all your burdens away. I was like, okay. The Bible talks about praying and fasting. And prayer, you build your relationship with God. Fasting actually brings results. And I was like, I'll give it 2 weeks. I'll start fasting for 2 weeks. And if God doesn't speak to me by the end of these 2 weeks, I'll just kill myself. Like, it'll be fine. Like, because I'm either gonna disprove that He even cares, that He's listening, that He sees me in this moment, or He'll actually bring something, and I guess that'll be fine. So I spend 2 weeks fasting, not continuously, not all food, but spent 2 weeks fasting and praying, and in that, just started picking up my Bible. Not, and that was the first time in probably 2 years I picked up my Bible and wasn't ashamed that I was holding it. The devil got such a hand on my mind that I was ashamed to read the Bible. I was just like, I've turned this thing down, I've turned it away. I don't deserve to be reading it because in the deepest part of my heart, I never lost my faith in Jesus. I knew he was real, but I just didn't think he cared about me. And you've probably all heard that quote by Bryce Crawford. If you don't, what's the difference if you don't care about your life than giving it to somebody who does care? Um, but I started fasting and I was sitting on the edge of my bed this night and just reading my Bible, and all of a sudden I just felt the Holy Spirit coming in my room. And I was just like, well, that's I haven't felt that in a while. Like this kind of feels good. And I just close my eyes and I just start praying. All of a sudden I just see this dream so vividly. I don't know if you'd call it a vision or dream, whatever, but I was sitting up on the edge of my bed and just saw this whole image of just this big black wall start moving towards me and just this big white wall on the other side. That all of a sudden I'm standing there and I just see "Meow," just running past me. All of a sudden, it was Jeremiah. He was running past me full speed to that white wall, and I was like, "Where are you going?" He was like, "Dude, come on, we have to go." And then all of a sudden, I saw like Grayson and Kenley start running. Then I saw like Nate. I don't know. I had never even. I don't think I'd met. Actually, I had like a few years previous. Then, weird enough, I saw Servando. I didn't meet Servando face to face for another 6 months. I'd never seen this guy in my life. He ran past me. And all of a sudden I was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna go. And I start to take off to run. All of a sudden I'm stopped and I realize that my hand is tied down. And I look down and it was the girl I was dating at the time. And I was like, come on, we have to run. We have to go, get up. And it was just, no, I don't really feel like it. And I was like, well, I mean, I have to keep going. And so I was just like, I can't drag you there. So I just let go and started running. And I make it through this wall. And on the other side, all of a sudden, I see like half of this youth group standing there. And I run straight to Jeremiah in the middle. And I was just like, brother, I've missed you so much. He's like, bro, you're home now. It's fine. Like, I'm glad you made it home. I was like, wait, these are all the people from the church he's going to. This is all the people from Anchors. And I woke up. Crazy enough, I was sitting on the edge of my bed when I closed my eyes, and then I woke up the next morning after that. Don't like my Bible was set back on the nightstand next to my bed. I was under my covers. Like I have no idea how any of that happened, but uh, um, I woke up the next morning. I was like, wow, he cares. Like there's no way I have to go. Like I have to go. The next day, me and Jeremiah called, and he was like, "Yeah, we're about to go to Ecuador." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go." I was like, "You got spots?" He was like, I don't know. Talk to Peko." And I was like, "Do you have his number?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I got Peko's number. And I texted him, called him. I was just like, "Hey, I need to go to Ecuador." And so the next Wednesday, um, actually that Tuesday, I drove over to that girl's house. Said, peace out. I'm going. Like, see ya. Literally, I was just like, all right, well, I'm going to chase after the Lord. So I came here that Wednesday and have been here ever since for almost a year straight. Haven't missed it all. But but here I am lying on stage. Listen, I had good reasons. But yeah, so I felt like the Lord just completely wrecked my life. Like everything about my life changed. I was working different. I was walking different, talking different. I was a new man completely. And I started talking to my friends. I remember one of the first people I told I was coming to Anchors was Grayson, and I hadn't talked to her at that point in probably 2 years.
Was
Like,
she one of those friends that you just kind of, you know?
yeah,
Now I
yeah,
think this is a great time to apologize. I'm
yeah,
kidding.
my
I'm kidding. I'm
bad,
kidding.
my bad. And I talked to Grace and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come to Anchors." She was like, "What? Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited." I was like, "Oh, well, that's weird." Like, I that's one of my friends that's excited to have me back. And then I told Jeremiah, I was like, "Hey, I'm coming to Ecuador." He was like, "Yes, you're coming to Ecuador. This is awesome." And then he was like, "You gonna come to Anchors?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm moving. Like, I'm moving there as soon as possible." He's like, "For real?" He's like, "What about your church and your girlfriend and all that?" I was like, "Nope, it's over with. That is not me. Like, I'm coming to Anchors." And I got here and I remember that first Wednesday like so vividly in my brain. I walked in those doors right there and it was faces that I had seen like 2 days previous that I'd never met before. I was like, what in the world is happening? I've never had anything like that happen. I've grown up my whole life in church. I've only had one spiritual dream. And other than that, I'd never seen anything like that before. And I was like, "How in the world? This is where I'm supposed to be." Like, the absolute best confirmation you could possibly have. So, I went to Ecuador, just oh, man. When I tell you there's something about the mission field that, like, I don't care if you've always been serving, if it's your first time, there's something about the mission field. If you've been before, it never leaves you, and if you go for the first time, you have a new addiction. Like, there's something about that field that fulfilling the Great Commission, you can do absolutely anywhere, but something about a sacrifice to do it is it can be easy. I'm not saying that it always is, but it can be easy to, be like talk to your sister like, "Jesus loves you. Alright, I'm leaving. See you next week." Like, that is can be an easy cop out to that sometimes, but something about sacrificing that much time and effort and travel, and I was could not be more happy to be back on that mission field.
Yeah, man. There is something about the mission field. Well, one, I think it's sleep deprivation. Not getting the right amount of sleep,
Stress.
traveling, stress, trying to figure out all this Spanish in a few
United
days,
Airlines.
and completely butchering it, eating ice cream every night that we don't even know what we're eating. But it's great. And speaking of Ecuador, I want to maybe kind of end on this point. We go to Ecuador, and we just do one VBS this week, and we're scrubbing walls and creating stuff for VBS in the mornings, going to the VBS in the afternoon. If you've never been on a mission trip, Ecuador is actually completely booked. But if someone happens to drop out and you want to go, please let me know, and I'll keep you on the reserve list. So if someone drops out, we can place you in there. It's first time we've ever maxed out a mission trip. I'm excited. So we were in this village, and the first 2 days we went, and at the end of the second day, there was this little boy who he had burned his leg, and he had heard what was going on in the village. And you may have heard this story before, but there's another side of it. And he said, and we went to his house, and he was crying, and we thought he was in pain. And when Leah talked to him, he was crying because he couldn't go to VBS. And I'm like, this kid has third-degree burn on his leg, and he is crying because he can't go to VBS with his friends. Now, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. Some of you guys miss youth because you had a headache. Like, this kid couldn't walk. I'll tell you, I'll just be vulnerable. We walked over there. He didn't have any clothes on because he was burnt so bad. Like, that's how vulnerable he was being. He was like, I just want to go to church. I need someone to carry me over there. So we were talking about it. I had brought a first aid kit, so we got him all the ointment that we had in it, gave it to him. We put it on his leg, gave him some saline, I think, whatever the other stuff was. And well, when we went back the third day, we were getting ready to walk over there, and Leah said, "Well, it rained. It's going to be slippery. We need someone that can carry him over." Well, y'all know who I was going to get. We got Goliath on our team over there. So, like in the airplane on the way there, he has to sit like this. I'm like, well, I'm getting Andrew.
A true story.
So now here's the thing. I'll let Andrew tell his side. I had no idea the Lord was already working on him.
Yeah.
I mean, I walk in, and he's like in a daze, and he's just standing there. He was just standing there,
Menacingly.
menacing. And he's just staring. And I'm like, Andrew, I call his name. He doesn't hear me. I said, Andrew. And he goes, yeah. I said, hey, I need your help. So he walks over. So he had bought these boots and that were kind of basically slip resistant. I said, hey, you've got the boots. I don't know how heavy this kid is. I said, can you help me carry him over here? There was no helping me. Um, I was like kind of walking behind Andrew trying to help. I couldn't catch him. So we walk over there. He helps Leah, kind of bandage him up and other things, and then he carries him back. And we walk in, and I'll show you. Here's a picture of the little boy. We walk in, and I walk outside, and Andrew's outside, and I'll let you tell the rest of the story from there.
Yeah, converted Goliath, but, but yeah, so I it was very weird. I spent that entire week of Ecuador so uncomfortable, and I don't mean like from all the humidity and rashes and stuff like that, But I mean, just spiritually, I felt like the Lord was like just sitting there, Andrew, Andrew, Andrew. I was like, stop, please leave me alone.
Sir?
I felt so uncomfortable. I could not like just relax. I felt so spiritually like disturbed. But I knew the feeling was similar, like because it happened just a month previous with getting that dream. I just felt the Lord wreck my heart. And so I felt the Lord bothering me that entire week, and I was just like, something is happening. Please don't call me back onto the mission field, please. And I was just like, the Lord's gonna, like, the Lord has something for me. And we get down to that little boy's house, and Miss Tracy starts putting saline on his leg. Miss Williams starts explaining how to use all the ointments, everything like that, and for no reason whatsoever, I still don't know why. Well, you'll figure it out in a second. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there and I'm just standing there next to Pecco and Lauren. I was just like, yeah, I kind of want to be a firefighter. I was like, why did I just say that? And they're like, yeah. I was yeah, I want to be doing this type of stuff. And so just for no reason whatsoever, just blurted that out. And I was like, all right. But when I saw this little boy, I knew absolutely nothing on this planet would get between me and him. I had to help him. Like, when I tell you, it's like, oh man, I can't even think of something that's like. It's like that cold glass of water at 1 a.m. Like, I had nothing on this planet was going to stop me from getting to that. Like, I had to help him. It was a spiritual drive that I had to help this little boy. And so they're like, all right, you can pick him up now. I was like, all right, nice. So I picked him up, started carrying him, and I get about halfway back to the church, and all of a sudden I just feel my heart break. Whew, I was, I was sitting there, I was just like, just started boohooing carrying this kid, and he turned around, he's like, bro, I'm the one that's hurt. Like, what are you crying about? But I was crying like a baby, and take him to church, set him down, and when I was walking with him, I just felt the Lord say, "This is what I have for you. This is what you're supposed to be doing. You are doing exactly what I've called you to do." I was just like, "I'm supposed to be a firefighter?" And just like completely felt the Lord or tell me, "This is exactly what I want for you. Like this is what I've made you to do." He's like, "I did not make you like hitting your head on door frames for no reason. Like you got to use it somewhere." But like I felt the Lord absolutely he confirmed that call in my life that I was supposed to be a firefighter. And I got back to that church just like, Pecco, I'm gonna be a firefighter, man. It's like the Lord just confirmed my call for my life. And so that man, it was such a full circle moment because of where I'd come from. Of I felt like everything in my life kind of summed up in that moment where I was just like, I have a call, I have a purpose, I am surrounded. I made like that family that went to Ecuador. There's no other way to say it than family. That team that went to Ecuador is like, I felt like I was on a trip with all my siblings and stressed out mom and dad the entire time. Like, just, it was, I have never gotten closer. Jeremiah, stop. Bro, I'd never gotten closer to people that quick in my life. And just that moment was completely full circle from everything that God brought me through to that moment. And it was out of obedience. It's because I knew I was supposed to be there. If I literally made the deadline for the money, I think in like 2 days, was it
Yeah.
close to that? Yeah. And man, I can't even explain it.
Man, I'll say this. Um, that testimony is a perfect example that no matter how far you've run from God, how many years, if you're not following God now, following Jesus is not, well, I've lived for the world for 5 years. Now I need to make up that time with God so he can use me. Within a span of a couple of months, Andrew made a decision. He cut off the thing that was pulling him away. He came to where the Lord was calling him. He was obedient, went on the mission trip, and the Lord called him on the mission trip. And it wasn't like a big spiritual moment. I just walked up. I saw Andrew. I'm like, hey, come help me. And then afterwards, I walk up to him and he's crying. I was like, dude, are you good? Like, did you get hurt? And he was like, man, the Lord just confirmed a calling. And I'm like, man, that's incredible. So Yeah, and the Ecuador team, we're family. What happens in Ecuador, we there's two pictures from each year, and they both involve Gavin. And if you didn't go to Ecuador, you won't know why they're funny. So that's a good reason to go to Ecuador this year because then you'll be on the inside scoop. Hola, niño. Uh,
¿Qué pasa, pollo?
so, but Andrew, I want you just to real quick, um, a sentence, a paragraph of encouragement, maybe a word. And Jeremiah, if we have Touch of Heaven in that playlist, I feel like we just need to maybe just do an altar call, um, just for prayer. Um, because I feel like there's some of you that are in here and you're like, well, I don't really have a testimony. My parents never got divorced. I never did drugs. But maybe there's that one thing in your life that has been holding you back and you've just been settling, whether that's a relationship, a sport, just any type of hobby, or maybe that's just going through the motions of church. So I'm gonna allow Andrew to share. We're gonna pray, and then we're just gonna take one song, and I want to give you a moment just to come pray.
Yeah. So I was just kind of praying this whole week leading up to this, just that the Lord would have something for my heart. And to be honest with you, this last year hasn't all been sunshine and rainbows. I felt like it's just battle after battle after battle. A relationship with Jesus is real. It it is not for the weak. It's not for it is real. And being on cloud nine, it takes it's not by your own doing. You can't have the willpower. You do not have the willpower to do it all on your own. And so there's definitely still ups and downs. There's those moments where I'm just like, man, like I feel like I would rather just crawl back into that hole right now because serving the Lord is hard. And so I'm going to be reading Luke chapter 15, verse 18. It's the parable of the lost son or the prodigal son. But it says, I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt him compassion. And he ran to him, embraced him, and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring quickly the best robe, put it on him, put a ring on his finger, and shoes on his feet, and bring the fattened calf, kill it, and let us celebrate. For my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. I, I can't explain how many times that same paragraph reapplies to my life. It is not a one time ticket that you don't fall away from God once and then all of a sudden you're good for life. You don't get saved and you're just like, all right, I got this. I'm gonna just go over there and do whatever I want. I feel like I am that son every day when I wake up. I feel like every day I have to run to the Lord because we all want to cash out that inheritance early. We all want to get the glory of God early. Like, oh, I got it. I'm saved. Now I have a place in heaven. Like, that's my inheritance from God. I'm good. I'm going to go spend it all and have fun. But the grace that God has for you every single time you turn back, we're not worthy of it at all. And that's why you have to trust Him because you cannot make it on your own.
Come on.